We begin with this awful news coming out of Rottnest Island off Perth, where a seaplane carrying 7 people has crashed into the ocean. 4 people were rescued, 3 with serious injuries, but 3 others remain unaccounted for.
It's believed the privately owned aircraft was taking off when it struck a small limestone outcrop. Police are mounting a major response on the island. Reporter Rhiannon Shine has the latest.
Rottnest Island is a popular tourist destination with locals and visitors. It's about 30 k's off the coast of Perth, known for its beautiful beaches and its quokkas, but disaster struck here on Tuesday afternoon. Police say a privately owned seaplane crashed into the water in Thomson Bay behind me after hitting a rock around 4 o'clock local time on Tuesday afternoon. There were 7 people on board. 1 of them was not injured. 3 of them were seriously injured and transferred by helicopter to hospitals in Perth. And on Tuesday evening, 3 of them sadly remained unaccounted for. Here's WA Police Commissioner Cole Blanche speaking about this incident on Tuesday afternoon.
I can confirm that 4 people have been recovered from the water, but their condition is currently unknown. I do want to reassure the community that we have significant resources on scene and we are doing everything that we can. There have been a number of the members of the public who did not hesitate to assist, and I do thank them for their efforts.
Now, we spoke to some people who witnessed this incident as they were coming off the ferry back in Perth. Some of them were very shaken. Here's what they had to say.
All that I seen was just the initial impact of the plane. There was one wing, obviously, hanging up. It was sort of sideways in the water. Upon that happening, there was an instant surf life and rescue boat that went straight out.
We just saw the boats rushing out from Rottnest Island, and next thing you knew, they brought somebody back to the island and he was getting medical treatment from the fireys there. And then all the helicopters started.
The ABC has been told the Australian Transportation Safety Bureau is now gathering further information before deciding whether it will need to investigate this incident.
Rhiannon Shine reporting there. Campers have been evacuated from the popular Cape Otway region in Victoria's southwest overnight as firefighters battle an out-of-control bushfire. Let's go now to the State Control Centre, where we're joined by Chief Fire Officer Chris Hardman. Chris, thanks for joining us this morning. What's the latest on this fire in the Otway region?
So thanks, Steph. The fire kicked off around 1 o'clock this morning, just after 1 o'clock this morning. And through the night, there were very strong winds blowing across that exposed Cape Otway area, and that fire spread to around 10 to 15 hectares. That's still to be determined, but in that part of the world, there were many campers. So we have evacuated a number of campsites, and about 140 people have turned up at the Apollo Bay Community Centre as a relief centre. We've also got about 100 campers isolated at Blanket Bay picnic area, Blanket Bay campground, and there's 22 people that were walking on the Great Ocean Road, Great Ocean Walk, and they're at the Cape Otway light station. So it's too dangerous for them to leave at this point in time, so they're being held in place whilst the firefighters do whatever they can to contain this bushfire, and there's an enormous number of firefighters out there at the moment with aviation assets, bulldozers, to get round this fire as quickly as possible. And it's very dynamic, it's very challenging country, but they're working hard to contain it, and we will keep the community informed about exactly what actions campers should undertake at any given time, but it's important that they stay where they are at the moment.
It must be quite scary for those campers who are stranded out there at the moment and those who are on their bushwalks. What's the situation like for them? What sort of resources do they have? How much danger are they in?
Look, I would say they're in a safe situation as we speak. The campers at Blanket Bay, we have firefighters with the campers, so it's quite an open area there. They're able to be protected by the firefighters in place. The Cape Otway Lighthouse is a very open area and, again, very low risk for those campers. And those areas that were more in the bushland, they have been evacuated and now are at Apollo Bay. But as I said, we've got lots of good resources there. We've got bulldozers, aircraft, firefighters, working hard to contain the fire, and they have the weather's not too bad. The wind has died down a little bit. They've got a really good chance of getting around it, but it's very dynamic. It's a high-risk situation, and we've got to make sure before we move people on, it's safe for people to leave. Right now, it's safer for them to stay where they are.
And you mentioned, Chris, that this fire started in the early hours of the morning. It's great that you've managed to get so many people out. It's quite remarkable, actually. I can't imagine undertaking an evacuation operation with a fire burning in the middle of the night in a pretty remote sort of part of the region. What, I suppose, what sort of operations happen when you get that warning or you get that fire starting at the middle of the night? How do you manage to get people out so quickly?
Well, the good thing is that fire and emergency services are used to working at all hours, and we're able to get our CFA volunteers and our Parks Victoria and our Forest Fire Management Victoria firefighters out in the middle of the night. They, the land managers, so the park staff, know exactly where the campers and the walkers are, so they're able to make sure that they've given really good information immediately. And I have to thank the campers for just cooperating so well with the emergency services during this event, and people staying very much with their Vic Emergency app and being really clear about what to do, and following the advice of emergency service workers is the best things they can do. But certainly, yeah, very grateful for all of the efforts of all of the firefighters overnight, making sure the number one priority is that everybody is safe, and currently everybody is safe, which is really good news.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Chris Hardman, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
Okay, time for more news now, and here's Sana.
Good morning, thank you. 2 adults were critically injured and 3 children seriously hurt when a minivan rolled over on the Hume Highway between Sydney and Canberra. The New South Wales Ambulance Service deployed 3 helicopters and 6 ambulances to respond to the crash, which happened near Marulan, causing major traffic disruptions. The death toll from a powerful magnitude 6.8 earthquake, which hit a remote region of Tibet, has risen to at least 126. Chinese state media reports almost 190 others have been injured. China's government has announced the allocation of almost $22 million for disaster relief. A French-owned company linked to an Australian corruption probe has been awarded a $100 million contract to build dozens of new vehicles for the Australian Army. Multinational weapons maker Thales will use its Bendigo facility to construct 40 new Bushmasters, a model that's also been sent to assist Ukraine's war effort. Last year, Thales was referred to the National Anti-Corruption Commission over a scandal involving a bottle of champagne. The Victorian town of Halls Gap will reopen to the public this morning after being shut for 2 weeks due to bushfires in the state's west. The blaze in the nearby Grampians National Park was contained on Monday, but the park will remain closed until Friday, when it is scheduled to partially reopen. Local business owners say they are looking forward to welcoming tourists back to the area. Property analysts are forecasting house prices will continue falling in early 2025 before rebounding later in the year after interest rate cuts. But AMP's chief economist has warned there is a risk of a sustained fall if unemployment rises sharply, interest rates don't fall, or immigration slows suddenly. The current downturn is concentrated in Sydney and Melbourne, but price falls are beginning to spread to other regions and suburbs as well. The ABS will release today the latest inflation figures, which will be watched closely by the Reserve Bank Board before its next meeting next month to determine interest rates. Inflation rose 2.1% in the 12 months to October, but core inflation, which measures the price of select goods and services while stripping out volatile prices like food and energy, that accelerated to 3.5%.
Okay, let's take a quick look at global markets now, and the Dow has closed lower by more than 0.4%. The Australian dollar is dropped as well, so it's now buying 62.30 US cents. Our futures are pointing down, but Brent, crude and gold are on the way up.
Thousands of Elvis fans will descend on the New South Wales town of Parkes over the next 5 days to celebrate the King of Rock and Roll. The annual Elvis Festival is now in its 32nd year, is scheduled to coincide with the legendary singer's birthday and attracts tribute artists from across the globe. Yes, you can't help falling in love with these mega fans. And we'll be bringing you all the highlights as the Elvis Express heads from Sydney to Parkes tomorrow.